Well, Sheri Speede gave up her thriving veterinary practice to travel across the globe to Africa to set up a sanctuary for chimpanzees. She spent 14 years observing and interacting with the animals she rescued and realized the amazing capacity chimpanzees have to love and grieve.
Yeah, we are thrilled to welcome Sheri to the Morning Blend today. She has documented her experience in this book. It's a compelling memoir called Kindred Beings, What 73 Chimpanzees Taught Me About Life, Love, and Connection. Thanks so much for being here.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
It's a great book, incredible pictures, which we're going to show some from the book. I think one of the most extraordinary pictures to me is the one that we teased right before the break, where you had a funeral for a chimpanzee, and you're kind of cradling her head, and all the other chimpanzees are kind of on the other side of what looks like kind of a thin fence, watching and kind of taking part in this, what seems like a sort of formal process there. I mean, how did you set that up? What was it like to be there? And her name was Dorothy, right?
Her name was Dorothy, and she had lived on a chain at a hotel for 40 years.
Oh, no way.
And we had, with the Cameroon government, had gone in with the assistance of myself and some colleagues and did a forced confiscation of her back in 2000. And for the first couple of years she was at our sanctuary, she really struggled to fit in. She was socially awkward and physically frail. And then after, in 2002, an event in her life happened where she adopted a young orphan as her son. In her 40s, she had never had an opportunity to be a mother, and she became one in her 40s. And asserting herself to protect her son, she gained status and respect in the group. And by the time she died in 2008, she was well respected and loved by everyone. And so when she died, they were very sad. And as we were about to bury her beside the enclosure where she had lived, the chimpanzees heard us wheeling the wheelbarrow by, and they came out of the forest to see her body. And so I stopped, and then one of our volunteers took the picture.
It's unbelievable. You're kind of holding her head. Are you kind of, is that a way of showing respect back to the people who gathered there? Or what were your thoughts when you were holding her head there?
I myself was heartbroken. And I had conducted an autopsy on Dorothy that morning, which was very difficult to do that with someone who I loved, but it had to be done. And at that point I was just sad and grieving, the same as the chimpanzees were.
Yeah. You know, two questions for you. One, how old do chimpanzees live? And I recognize that you named her Dorothy. Do you give most of the chimpanzees on your sanctuary human names?
All of them have names. No, she came with that name. That's what they had been calling her where she had lived for so many years. But yeah, they all have names, and a lot of them are the local names for the in the culture there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old do they usually live?
They live in captivity with medical care and good food and a good sanctuary. They can live 55, even 60 years and older.
Wow.
In the wild, about 45 is the average.
Okay.
A lot of people are going to be familiar with the name Jane Goodall because she's the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute. She's a messenger of peace for the UN. One of the things that she wrote about your book was how fortunate that there are people like you who risk their health, work for a pittance to rescue them. She said that your words will bring a tear to all but the hardest of hearts and a lot of smiles as well. But what, as a woman, why would you decide to give up a thriving practice and a comfortable life to go and risk your health and your wealth potentially to care for these animals and become friends with them?
I had gone to Cameroon to provide veterinary care at an existing wildlife center, and I work with chimpanzees and gorillas and monkeys for the first time. And I met some chimpanzees living in these deplorable conditions. Some had been there for decades, and I became friends with them. And in the course of that, I also became familiar with the very serious conservation issues there, and I just couldn't come back to my comfortable life in the United States and forget about them. And so ultimately, they inspired me to change my life profoundly in order to change theirs.
What's the difference between a chimpanzee, a monkey, an ape, gorilla, in terms of how they relate on a human level as well?
Chimpanzees are, and gorillas and orangutans, bonobos, and humans, we're in the ape family.
Okay.
Specifically, we're great apes. And monkeys are monkeys. They're a completely different class. And chimpanzees are much closer to humans than they are to monkeys. And in fact, chimpanzees are closer genetically to humans than they even are to gorillas.
Wow.
Chimpanzees and humans are closer to one another than either of us are to any other species.
That's amazing. And part of why probably we can get the same feeling of grief and loss and love and even laughter and those kinds of things from them. I have to ask you about the danger, because one of the things you write about in your book is that adult male chimpanzees are emotionally volatile, pushed around a lot by their own hormones. But in the wrong set of circumstances, you say all can be deadly dangerous. Is that just male chimpanzees, and how afraid, have you ever been afraid while with them?
I'm very careful with them. Over the years, I've come to know them well, and their personalities, and I know their potential for causing harm. And they certainly can be violent, but at the other extreme, they can show empathy and compassion and love. And I've had some genuine friendships that have meant the world to me. But I will say they are so like humans, and humans can show those extremes of behavior too. Love and compassion on one end, horrible cruelty and violence on the other side. And chimpanzees are the same.
So people, who do you hope will pick up your book, and what exactly can they learn from your book?
I hope that people around the world will gain more sympathy for chimpanzees and understand the importance of preserving their place on the planet, because they are endangered in every country where they still live in Africa. They've already gone extinct in 4 countries. And also just to understand that we humans are part of the animal kingdom. There's a evolutionary continuum between us, and I don't think that we humans should set ourselves so apart.
It's unbelievable.
Beautiful
a wonderful
story.
book. Here again is the cover so that you can see it and get a copy for yourself. It's called Kindred Beings: What 73 Chimpanzees Taught Me About Life, Love, and Connection, written by Sheri Speede. And we're so excited to have had you as a guest today.
Thank you for
joining
here.
us.
Thank you
I hope
so
you
much.
make a documentary.
Thanks.
That would be wonderful.
That needs to be next on your list.
Yeah.
Now that you've written the book.
I know you've got nothing going on.
Nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.